Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
you're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to Rob Nelson Live. It's a Monday, depending on what time you're at, evening. It could be morning. You never know. It's going to be a short show, and it's going to be a little bit of a mix of things. I'm going to call this the politics of the absurd. Okay, you've got Trump threatening to invade Greenland. They won't sell it. Wow, I love it. Okay, he's not. Well, I'm going to say he's never going to invade Greenland. You never know. Take it by force, but I don't see that being likely. But everybody's reacting, right? European allies are doing military exercises now there just to show the defensibility against Russia. Well, Greenland's got very little defense protection. Trump's argument I love, and I'm being facetious. He's like, well, why does it belong to Denmark? Because they sailed some ships there and put a flag on it. Well, we sailed ships there too. You could argue that about most places, right? Everybody sailed ships to the Americas and stuck flags down. France had some, Spain had some, England had some. I don't know if France actually sailed ships. Spain and the U.S. did. So that's one piece of the politics of the absurd. Immigration's going to weave in here, but I'm going to talk the real absurd. So the Axios did a questionnaire of top Democrats, like 20 top Democrats, potential candidates for the 2028 presidential election, and asked them whether transgender girls who were born male should participate in girls' sports, whether transgender youths under 18 should be allowed to be placed on puberty blockers and hormones, and the most important question, can a man become a woman? Can a man become a woman? Only one would answer, Rahm Emanuel, who used to be the mayor of Chicago, and before that was a top aide to Clinton. Only Rahm said it. Now, Rahm has always been a relatively centrist Democrat. Now he'd probably be considered somewhat of a conservative Democrat like Clinton. And I knew Rahm when I was in law school and was working at the White House. And, had a good relationship with him until one day I was doing my political stuff and I was, being bipartisan. So I was working a lot with Republicans too. And George Stephanopoulos and Rahm Emanuel didn't think that I was, even though I wasn't technically working with the White House, they didn't think I was lined up enough with what I'd done politically and would too often push for things that I thought were the right thing, whether or not they were the Democrat thing. And I walked into the White House and again, he'd been very friendly with me. At one point invited me to come and have dinner with him and his wife, and I had a blue pass, which is the pass that lets you go into any building in the U.S. government. So it's the all access pass to anywhere, including the White House. And as I'm walking to Secret Service, Rahm looks at the Secret Service agents and says, he's not allowed in here. Dead serious. And the Secret Service agents look at him and look at me and look at my blue pass and go, I'm sure he is. And Rahm Emanuel scowls at me and goes, well, he shouldn't be. Rahm Emanuel was a partisan Democrat more than he was an ideologue. Anything for the Democrats, anything for Clinton. He's a partisan. I'm not a fan of super partisanship, but he is a uber partisan. Is he just smart enough to know the correct answer here is no, a man can't become a woman? But the part of the politics of the absurd for me is, one, Gavin Newsom said it really well to Ben Shapiro. Never has such a tiny number of people gotten so much attention. The number of the transgender population in the U.S. is so tiny, tiny, tiny. It's not like a big minority. It's not like gay people or black people or Asians or Jews or handicapped people or anybody. It's a fractional number of people, and yet gets all this attention. But the bigger thing to me is why, after all of this, people still can't acknowledge some basic fundamental truths. No, a man cannot become a woman. And I'm not saying that like I'm homophobic or transphobic. Actually, homophobic wouldn't even apply. There are like Andrew Sullivan's, who's a well-known conservative gay commentator and columnist and writer, has a great Substack, by the way, has argued that the whole movement towards the transgender thing has started to erase what gay people fought for so long, which is I can be a man and like another man. That makes me a gay man, a homosexual. I don't actually have to be a woman. I don't have to change. Like my gay manhood is not to have to be changed to be a woman. But think about the logic. No, a gay man, a man can't become a woman. Well, why not? Because sex is fluid, and gender is fluid. Okay, biological sex isn't fluid. Gender could be fluid. And these people who are saying biological sex is fluid, seriously, penises, vaginas. One goes in the other, makes babies. Pretty basic. No penis, no male sex. Two women can't make a baby unless a man gives them the sperm. Two men can't make a baby unless a woman agrees to carry the baby in her womb. So technically, you don't need to literally have the vagina and the penis of the two people, but you got to have one of each. And a surgically attached or removed one doesn't count. It's not rocket science. It's basic science. It's in our DNA. Gender's fluid. But if the idea that, if sex doesn't matter, then why are people having sex changes? Why are you shifting? If gender doesn't matter, why are you changing from your birth gender to a different gender? And why are you claiming you are not a man, you're a woman? Well, then you are saying there's a distinction. I don't want to be in the man camp. I want to be in the woman camp. I thought there weren't camps. I thought it was just all neutral territory. No teams here. We're just all playing for the same thing. Why can't a biological male who wants to be or identifies as a female, and maybe he's even had hormone treatments or puberty blockers, maybe even certain surgical changes, compete in women's sports? Because biological men are different than biological women. Again, not rocket science. No, they're not. And it's denying someone an opportunity. No, they are. Again, basics. Show me the WNBA team that can beat the NBA team. Tell you what, take the worst NBA team you can find and pit them against the best, not even team, the best players in the WNBA. Put the best of the best together. The women lose to the worst male team. Not because women are bad at sports or can't play basketball or anything. It's biology. Men and women were built different for different biological purposes. So I am not saying there's not a woman that can beat a man at something. Certainly there are. Take a little guy and a big woman. But overall, our biology. So when you're competing, you're picking the best already to compete. You can't argue the biology is different. Show me the female MMA fighter who can beat her competitor who's evenly matched with her. Could she beat most guys? Yes. Could she possibly beat a really bad male fighter if she's really good? Yes. Could she beat her equal match? Absolutely not. Never, not in a million years. Not in boxing, not in hockey, not in basketball, not in baseball, not in football. It goes on, and it's just soccer, it's volleyball. It's just basic science. And yet people won't admit it. Josh Hawley, the senator, you don't have to like him or not. He's a former lawyer, he's a prosecutor, he's a smart guy, was asking in a hearing in Congress, an OBGYN, a female OBGYN, can a man have a baby? It's even less than can a man become a woman. Can a man have a baby? She wouldn't answer. She said, well, I feel like the direction of your question is going, and I didn't want to answer because he's like, it's just a question. Can a man have a baby? Well, I mean, I feel like, there's a lot of variables that go into, no, can a man have a baby? Well, I don't like that you're trying to corner me, and I feel like you're being hostile to politicize something. He's like, and he is trying to politicize it, but he's like, simple question. You are an OBGYN. You are a medical doctor. You said in your testimony that you want to use science as a guidepost for policy decisions. Does modern science, or any science, suggest that a man can have a baby? Significantly different than could a man become a woman, which science doesn't support, but could a man have a baby? She will not say no. Well, okay. Show me the man that can have a baby. I don't care if you have gender identity switching. I don't care if you just define yourself as a woman. I don't care if you get boobs. I don't care if you chop your dick off. You can't have a baby. You don't have a uterus. No, a man cannot have a baby. Could a woman who identifies as a man have a baby? Yeah. But now you've just admitted she's a biological woman. A biological man can't have a baby. It's just basic. And he's like, you're a doctor. You're an OBGYN. You say you want to be guided by science. Does science suggest a man can have a baby? Is there any evidence? I don't like the tone of your question. I think you're just trying to be political. How about just no? Your politics is getting eroded. No, a man can't have a baby. No, a man can't biologically become a woman. No, there are biological differences between men and women, regardless of your identity, regardless of how you identify, regardless of what puberty blockers and things you do, that will make it unfair for an equally matched man, biological, to compete with a woman. And we see it every time. The biological guy who identifies as a woman, and maybe he's been on hormone treatments and puberty blockers, can't win against the men. Places 115th. Competes at the college level against women, places second, first, third. Every time. Every single time. No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. No, I want to answer the question. The politics of the absurd. And it's also absurd, like I said, because never has so much focus been put on such a tiny fraction of people. I'm not saying, listen, my heart goes out for people who struggle with their gender identity. I'm not saying that's not a real thing. I don't agree with some people who say it's a disease. You're mentally sick. You definitely got mental issues. I mean, I got mental issues, but you got mental issues if you think you were born in the wrong body. That's a definite mental issue. I'm not saying you're sick. I'm saying you got mental issues, and you got to be torturous in there. You do see a lot of people go back and forth. They transition and then they want to detransition. And they usually admit the confusion in their heads. But I'm talking about the basic science here. The basic science of this and the logic of it and the refusal to accept that. And what hill are you dying on and why? It's a tiny number of people. Isn't the greater good more valuable? We spent years fighting with Title IX for women's sports, for women to be empowered. Since the 1920s, for the women's suffrage movement, to give women an equal place and to protect them in ways that make sense legally. We did it, also in civil rights with other minorities like Black people who'd been so disadvantaged. And the liberals supported that. They put it in place. Now it's like, no. It's more important to protect the one transgender athlete who is biologically a man and biologically more superior against evenly matched biological females, to protect that than to protect the entire movement, which was to make young women grow up, feel powerful, feel protected, feel they can compete and win. Again, then why do we have leagues at all? Why don't we just have no men's division, women's division? Just have the NCAA all-in division. Let everybody play. No women's teams, no men's teams, just everybody's on teams. Because see, the hypocrisy of it is the biological male who identifies as a female wants to play on a female team. So now we're admitting we have female teams, and we're going to let this person in who's not really a female and has a superior advantage and just say, no, they are a female. So it's not violating the principle which we believe in, which is protecting women. We're just protecting this trans woman who's actually a biological man. No, if it really doesn't matter, the biology doesn't matter, then don't have gender leagues. Just all one. No WNBA, NBA, just one basketball, American Basketball League. Everybody plays. No, never happened, because they'll pick the best players. So you won't make the team if you're a woman, because you'll never get picked. Once in a while, a woman will get picked. I'm not saying never. I just did say never. I'm taking it back. But for the most part, women won't get picked. In college, no men's and women's. Just all in. Because you're going to pick the best people. So everyone's going to – it's like when you – as a kid, I played dodgeball. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. You know, if you were the littlest guy, you got picked last. Nobody wanted you. So if there's a bigger, more superior physical athlete who's a biological male, every one of they are going to get picked before the women do. That's why they did Title IX. Politics of the absurd. It is the politics of the absurd. Back to Trump. Well, the same absurd politics. You know what? He writes a letter to the oh no. Hold on, everybody. Right in the middle of my stream, my computer is threatening to crash on me. Don't go anywhere. It was a good show if it cancels out, but I ain't done yet. I ain't quitting. I think I can get this plugged in just in the nick of time. Hold on. Do we have power? Yes, we're in again. Woo! Saved by the day. Excuse me. You know, and he writes that since he wasn't given the Nobel Peace Prize, that he is no longer feels an obligation to put peace as his primary objective. Okay? So I'm going to come take Greenland. Okay? Got it. That's absurd. You know, since I didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize for stopping 8 wars plus, all caps, I no longer think peace has to be my priority. It's still important, but now I can be less. I mean, that is so egocentric and shows peace isn't really your priority, because if it was, you wouldn't stop seeking peace because you didn't get an award for it. But it's also more the politics of the absurd. As is saying, you know, I get why the U.S. wants Greenland. I'm not stupid, but you don't get to just go take it. And Greenland doesn't really want to sell itself. It's not really interested. It's kind of like we're happy here. We're happy with where we are. We don't really want to be sold or taken over by you. We're not Americans. And Denmark, the people the same way. So, you know, it's just, again, it's absurd is what it is. Okay, I got 2 more absurds before I go. Remember Dylan Mulvaney, who did the Bud Light commercial? Which, again, that was politics of the absurd. Not just that they had her do a commercial for a brand that is so, like, old school, all-American, country, Western, whatever. But the absurd part of this, and Talk to Me Taylor has talked about this and articulates it better than I do, but the representation that everybody focused on around Dylan Mulvaney, I'm discovering what it means to be a girl, and I'm going to talk like this, and I'm going to experiment with all this stuff, and am I kind of silly and goofy? It was sort of like, and I'm not saying it as well as I'd like, but what a demeaning thing to what womanhood is. Like, that's the representation you have? This flighty, bimbo-y, fluttery, oh, my fingernails. I'm not saying there's anything not womany about, like, loving good fingernails or dressing a certain way or any of that, or being hot, all of it. I'm just saying your definition of femininity that you're going to put on a pedestal, that you're going to have be the face of a product, is her? Of all people, her, who, by the way, is actually a biological man, so not really a her, but identifies as a her, but not a her. I don't have a problem with saying, we got a transgender person who identifies as a woman, is not a woman, and is going to be the face of Bud Light. But we're all going to pretend she is a woman, and she's going to pretend she's a woman. And now she's just been cast in the next version of the Broadway musical Six, which is about the 6 wives of Henry V. And, they all either got divorced or executed. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, man. The king back in the day, you execute your wife to get rid of her. You don't even pretend. You don't just have a secret palace thing where she dies in her sleep. You put her right up on the guillotine and chop her head off. Now I can get married again. Then the church lets you divorce someone. Maybe you divorce them. You weren't supposed to get divorced. If they're dead, you can. But even they divorced a couple, chopped a couple others' heads off. I guess that would be politics of the absurd back in the day. But so it's a retelling of the story of those 6 wives. And it's supposed to be, and was supposed to be, this power, it's a Broadway musical, this powerful statement of femininity and what women are. And they just cast Dylan Mulvaney as wife number 6 or 5 or whatever. Really? Really? Hang on, what did they cast her as? My OCD wants to know. Anne Boylan. Anne Boylan, who I guess was wife number 5. I don't know. And they put out a thing, losing our heads, a pun, to introduce your newest Anne Boylan. Show some royal love to Queen Dylan Mulvaney, who will be joining the 6 Broadway 5.0 cast as Anne Boylan. First of all, she's not a she. And we've got to come up with a better word here. She identifies as a she. She's a he who identifies as a she. I don't have a problem with that. Maybe we have to have a new word, a trans she. And again, if the identification isn't there, why is it trans? Why do you transition? That's the absurd part. If there is no thing, if you're not really a man or a woman, why do you transition from one to the next? Then why don't you just stay the way you are and be a woman? Because there's a difference. So you biologically want to change how you look, dress, how you appear, so that you look more like a woman, which isn't really a biological thing or even a gender thing. Well, obviously it is. Otherwise, why would you change? You just look like me and be like, I just identify as a woman. Prefer you call me Roberta. Strong female qualities. No, I changed myself. Dylan Mulvaney changed himself to look like a goofy version of pathetic feminism, but whatever, like a woman. Tampax or someone did a thing with her. It's like you can't she doesn't have a vagina. She doesn't have a period. She doesn't need tampons unless sticking them up her butt. Politics of the absurd. Okay, my last politics of the absurd. The problem also is people in all of these things don't see the absurdity. They just don't see it. Look how my shoulders are going. It's because I moved out of the camera and my weird light. The last one is, this is a fun one. I have to find it. Michael Cohen. Remember Michael Cohen, who was Trump's fixer and then became the harshest Trump critic and was a CNN regular because they love Trump critics. And was Donald Trump's a liar and a philanderer. I don't know if you call him a philanderer, but he called him every bad thing he could be and a crook. And, kept saying he's going to go down. He'll never get reelected. Well, he did get reelected. Not the first time, not the second time, but the third time. First time and third time. But the first time, Michael Cohen was his fixer, was part of it. But he was his personal lawyer. And if you ever watch him, he just hates Trump and said all kinds of bad things about Trump and how Trump was, I'm going to do this. Hold on a second. I'm trying to make this go away so my shoulders stay in. I don't know that they will. And he was the key prosecution witness in 2 cases, one brought by Attorney General Letitia James of New York, and the other was the Alvin Bragg, the district attorney of Manhattan. And, both brought the cases. And, if you followed all that, the cases went up, down, the jury's convicted. The judges were on the side of getting Trump, the prosecutors and the DA and the attorney general were literally running on campaigns of like, I'll get Trump, I'll get Trump. And, you know, the Alvin Bragg one, they literally invented a new legal connotation. Trump paid hush money to Stormy Daniels. Not a crime. A lot of people don't know that. There was no crime in paying hush money. You can pay someone to shut up. I don't want this out. I don't want people to know about my affair. And I'm going to make you sign a thing that says you won't talk about it. This stays between us, and I'll pay you all this money. That's legal. You didn't want it to come out. You can do it even if you didn't do the thing because you just don't want the publicity. That wasn't a crime. The crime they said he committed, this is more the politics of the absurd, was putting it on the books as a legal expense. Technically, it was. It was a legal problem he made go away. But obviously, that was obfuscating what it was for. But is that a crime? The FEC didn't think it was. Federal Election Commission. It was a misdemeanor at best for doing that. The statute of limitations on that misdemeanor ran out. So you couldn't charge him anymore for the misdemeanor. So Alvin Bragg, the DA of New York, came up with a felony offense, took what was just a misdemeanor that had expired and created a felony for campaign fraud, even though the FEC didn't see it that way, and then never really defined what the actual crime was, and the jury still convicted. I think it's in the middle of being appealed. I don't know. Half these cases have gone away. Point is, Michael Cohen was the lead witness, and he came out in his book the other day and said that the prosecutors were uninterested, that they pressured and coerced him into delivering testimony to secure convictions. I felt pressured and coerced to only provide information and testimony that would satisfy the government's desire to build the cases and secure judgment and convictions against President Trump. He wrote this in Substack. Oh, and by the way, I guess the hush money case is going to federal court. I don't know. I don't even pay attention to the cases. I'm fascinated by Cohen, who went from the fixer to the, going against Trump in every way possible and being the lead prosecution witness to bring him down. And now he's saying, I know. The other case was the Letitia James case where they said he inflated his assets to get favorable loan terms. This for the woman who has 2 residences and claims they're both primary, so she gets better loan terms. But the truth is, more politics of the absurd. If Trump had really done that, well, the facts wouldn't add up. They gave people papers and said, this is what our assets are worth that we're selling you. And in all of these cases, in any big business deals like this, you tell the bank or the investors, feel free to do your own due diligence and decide. If you think it's not worth what I'm telling you, go do your own homework and come back. They all paid the price he said it was. Even if he had inflated it, they didn't choose to think he had and didn't do their own due diligence. They all made money and they all came back to do business again. Where's the crime? And then remember that judge said that Mar-a-Lago was, Trump had valued Mar-a-Lago at like 50, like I don't remember what it was, like the $2 billion or something. I don't remember what number he said it was. It was big. And it was only worth 18 million. Maybe the number he put it at was 800 million, but it was only worth 18 million. And I'm thinking, this is a judge. I know I'm literally disappearing. In a court in New York, Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. And all you had to do was look and see there are properties not as well positioned. Mar-a-Lago's between, the 2 bodies of water. Nowhere near as famous and nowhere near as big. Undeveloped properties that were selling for $100 million or $50 million with nothing on them. Mar-a-Lago, which is huge on the ocean and the bay, is famous. Only worth 18 million? I'm guessing it's probably worth like close to $1 billion. But either way, market value, 18 million? I mean, if it was only worth 18 million, it was on the market for 18 million, I'd get $18 million more, buy it, and then resell it for 900 million. Politics of the absurd. So Cohen said he lied. He said they blurred the line between justice and politics. And they tried to get him to answer things when his honest testimony wasn't good enough to say things. And he was also cooperating because he wanted to shorten his prison sentence and hoped that his sentence would be reduced. And here's where he comes out. You may reasonably ask why I'm speaking out now. I have witnessed firsthand the damage done when prosecutors pick their target first and then seek evidence to fit a predetermined narrative. And he noted he's not writing in defense of Trump. Politics of the absurd. I'm Rob Nelson. Thanks for watching me and my disappearing shoulders. Have a good night.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers.